I woke up that morning to sunlight flowing through the drapes, the kind of gentle radiance that makes you feel wonderful. It was my birthday, which meant another year of trudging through life's grind. I hoped today would be better than yesterday. I stretched in bed, expecting the same calm routine, coffee, maybe a murmured happy birthday from Belle. But it was as if she had forgotten. Just then, I heard the bright, booming sound of her voice coming from somewhere in the house. I sat up, startled, taken aback. "Good morning, birthday boy," she said. Standing there, Belle grinned, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing the red blouse I'd always loved. Next to her, sitting with a knowing grin, was Cameron, my sister. "Get up, lazy," Cameron yelled, hurling a dish towel before stepping onto the countertop. "We've got plans." That word shocked me. My birthday had always been a non-event. I pretended it didn't hurt when Belle forgot, and Cameron didn't care. No cards, no cake. This cheerfulness, this enthusiasm, was new. I rubbed my eyes and swung my legs out of bed, my voice still scratchy from a long day of work. "Hope, what's going on?" I asked, still groggy. Belle stepped closer, her smile expanding as she placed a brief kiss on my cheek. "It's a surprise," she murmured. My heart skipped a beat when I heard, "We're taking you somewhere special for your birthday." I couldn't recall the last time we'd gone anywhere together, let alone for my sake. Cameron nodded, leaning against the counter. "Yeah, so hurry up. Bags are packed. Car's ready." I tripped to my feet, a grin pulling at my lips. "You're serious?" I asked, glancing between them. Belle giggled, a sound I used to love, and Cameron rolled her eyes. But it was amused, not mean. "Dead serious," Belle replied. "Go get dressed. We're leaving soon." I didn't need to be told twice. I pulled on jeans and a shirt, my mind racing. Maybe a cabin up north. A weekend by the lake. It didn't matter. I was simply delighted they'd thought of me for once. I grabbed my wallet, my phone, and walked to the front entrance where I always kept my keys. The car was outside, motor humming, trunk open with bags heaped inside. I could see Belle's bright yellow suitcase, Cameron's black duffel. This was genuine. I reached for my keys, already visualizing the broad road, when Belle's hand stopped me. "Hold on," she murmured, placing something into my palm, a folded piece of paper. I stared at her, bewildered, then unfolded it. My stomach dropped. It wasn't a map or a hotel booking. It was a list. Clean the gutters, mow the yard, fix the garage light, take out the garbage. My eyes scanned each phrase, the meaning sinking in like a punch. I gazed up at Belle, then Cameron, waiting for the punchline, but their faces had transformed. Belle's smile was gone, replaced by a blank stare. Cameron crossed her arms, that smirk back in full force. "Where do you think you're going?" she remarked, her voice shrill, piercing through the air. "This trip is for us, not for you. You're staying here. Be useful." My throat clenched. I stood there, the paper crumpling in my fist, staring at them as they collected their luggage and started for the door. Belle didn't even glance back. "Have a good birthday," she called over her shoulder, like it was a joke. The door slammed. The car peeled out. I was alone, the list still in my palm, the weight of it heavier than anything I'd ever held. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen to the spot, reliving it all in my head. The cheer, the kiss, the promise of a trip. It had all been a setup. A cruel little game to make me feel small. I had been married to Belle for 8 years, lived with Cameron in the house for 5, and somehow I had allowed myself to imagine today would be different. I walked to the kitchen, laid the list on the counter, and stared at it. The words blurred as my pulse beat in my ears. I wanted to yell, to throw something, but instead I just laughed. A low, bitter sound that didn't feel like mine. They thought they'd won. They thought I'd just take it, like usual. But as I stood there, the silence of the empty house pressing in, something shifted inside me. This wasn't just a bad day. This was a line crossed. And I wasn't going to let it slide, not this time. I watched the car disappear down the street, its taillights flickering red before fading around the bend. The home felt too vast, too quiet, like it was mocking me right along with them. I stood there at the window, the crumpled chore list still in my fingers, and let the truth settle in. Belle and Cameron had tricked me, and I had fallen for it like a fool. My birthday, the one day I dared to believe would mean something, had turned into another slap in the face. I dropped the list onto the coffee table and fell onto the couch, staring at the ceiling. How had it come to this? How had I allowed them to make me into this guy? This shadow of myself who silently took it, day after day, year after year. It wasn't always like this. When I met Belle, she was different, or at least I thought she was. Back then, she had this spark, this way of looking at me that made me feel like I mattered. We'd laugh about silly stuff. Spilling coffee on a first date, getting lost on a road trip with no GPS. I'd fix her car when it broke down, and she'd call me her hero, half joking but half serious. We got married fast, too fast maybe, but I loved her and I thought she loved me back. Then her parents died in that car accident 6 years ago, and everything changed. Cameron moved in a few months later, saying she needed family, needed support. I didn't protest. I figured it was temporary. But temporary turned into permanent, and the two of them became this unbreakable team. A team I wasn't on. At first, it was little things. Belle started asking me to handle the bills, the yard, the leaky sink. Stuff I didn't mind doing because I wanted to help. But then Cameron got in on it, barking orders like I work for her. Fix the Wi-Fi, she'd say, not even glancing up from her phone. The porch light's out again, Belle would add. Like I hadn't just spent all day at my own job. I'd nod, take my tools, and get it done, thinking it was just easier to keep the peace. But the more I did, the less they saw me as a husband, as a person. I became the guy who fixed things, the guy who stayed quiet, the person who didn't matter. They'd sit at the kitchen table, planning their weekends, their shopping trips, their lives while I scrubbed dishes or swept the lawn. If I ever pushed back, asked for a night out, a say in anything, they'd team up, rolling their eyes. Don't be so sensitive, Cameron would say. You're lucky we put up with you. Belle would chime in, laughing like it was a joke. Except it wasn't. I had let it build up, all those years of biting my tongue. I told myself it was okay, that I could handle it, that marriage was about compromise. But compromise isn't one-sided. It isn't being left with chore lists while they drive off laughing, treating my birthday like a joke. I leaned forward on the couch, resting my elbows on my knees, running my hands through my hair. The memory of Cameron's smug smirk burned in my thoughts. And Belle, my wife, the woman I had committed my life to, hadn't even flinched when she handed me that list. She had planned it with her sister, probably laughed about it the night before while I slept, unaware. The betrayal wasn't just in the act. It was in how easy it was for them, how natural it was to grind me down.